Hi, y'all. No, I don't say I'm from Connecticut. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey. I'm bringing you a highly requested topic requested by me, and that is eggs. So you may have heard in the past few months, the FDA declared that eggs are now regarded as a health food. And I think this is super exciting that the FDA is acknowledging eggs as a healthy food, but there is a little nuance that I feel personally very compelled to discuss, and that is whether or not there's a meaningful difference between conventional or cage-free eggs and pasture-raised eggs. And the short answer in my interpretation is a resounding yes. There's a very meaningful difference, and I will delve into some studies that investigated that nutritional difference between pasture-raised and conventional eggs and talk about that with you today. So for a quick introduction, I'm Kelsey. I'm a physician associate practicing in dermatology. I also have a background in agricultural research, and I hold a master's in crop and soil environmental science. So I really like to spend my free time delving into literature and environmental and health topics that I'm interested in. And my goal in starting this channel is to bring you pearls that can help improve your life and your decision making. So if you're interested in that, then please subscribe to see future videos. So we have a few types of labels on the market in the US for eggs. We have conventional USDA eggs that have no claims on the carton as in terms of the animal rearing. And then we have cage-free eggs, free-range and pasture-raised eggs. Now, conventional eggs in the store generally come from chickens that live in cages stacked on top of one another in what are called concentrated animal feeding operations, or CAFOs. Cage-free eggs live in CAFOs as well, and they're not actually required to have access to the outdoors, but they may have a little more wing room than the caged eggs. Cage-free and conventional eggs both are typically fed a feed that may contain soy, corn, and grain. Now, to quickly distinguish free-range eggs, this term can be a little bit tricky, I think, sometimes. Free-range really only means that the hens should have access to outdoors, but this in practice can result in really quite limited to no access to the outdoors. So I'm just gonna bookmark the term free range for another video and focus on that. But in terms of talking about the nutritional quality differences, I wanna specifically talk about pasture-raised eggs, which is a claim on the carton that can allow you to feel more confident that those hens truly are spending time in pasture, and that does have an impact on the quality difference nutritionally in the eggs. So these pasture-raised eggs, they're able to be outside and forage for herbaceous plants and grasses, alfalfa, and also insects, worms, and other bugs, and this really changes the quality of the eggs as a result. So what are some of the outcomes from the changes in the feeding behavior of the hens? One study, Sergin et al. Authored in 2022, they analyzed the egg yolk of pasture-raised eggs versus conventional eggs. So they had three groups. One was a pasture-raised egg that was given a feed that was free of corn and soy, and this group was also given a grass-fed beef product supplement. There was a second pasture-raised group that lived in chickens living in pasture, and they were given a feed that did contain corn, soy, and grain. And then there was a third group where they just used plain commercially obtained eggs, cage-free eggs. And in this study on the nutritional quality differences, they did find that both of the pasture-raised egg groups, whether they had a feed that included corn and soy and grain or not, both of those groups had nutritional superiority, really. And the pasture-raised eggs had twice the carotenoid content, 3 times the omega-3 fatty acid content, and 5 to 10 times lower omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio. Now, the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio it might be a new topic to you, and it's something I really encourage you to investigate more on your own. But it's worth taking a small detour right now to highlight the significance of this ratio. Now, omega-6 is an essential fatty acid, but in the modern diet, we tend to consume way too much omega-6 and far too little omega-3. And the high omega-6 to omega-3 ratio drives inflammation, and also omega-3 deficiency in general is a huge driver of chronic inflammation, which we know we have so much of in this country, leading to many different inflammatory conditions that people deal with and that I see in the field of dermatology as well. And there are actually molecules in our body called pro-resolving factors that we can only manufacture when we have adequate dietary omega-3, specifically long-chain omega-3. So it's important to find sources and make sure to take account of your diet and consider if you're getting enough high-quality omega-3 in there. It's worth noting also that the omega-6 contained in commercial eggs it's not only high omega-6, but that omega-6 is likely to be highly oxidized, or in other terms, rancid. And this is because the eggs do not have adequate antioxidants to attenuate or prevent the oxidation of the omega-6. As this study found, the conventional eggs in the study had far less beta-carotene, which is an important antioxidant. In a study I'll discuss later, they also had lower vitamin E. So those are vitamins, antioxidants that stabilize fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids are highly susceptible to oxidation, and without adequate antioxidants, they become altered in a manner that causes deleterious effects when they're absorbed into cell membranes. And as a side note, I should mention that omega-6 is not solely an inflammatory fat. It can become elongated in the body to form gamma-linoleic acid, which is actually anti-inflammatory. But in the context of a conventional egg, the omega-6 is likely to be highly oxidized, and therefore it cannot undergo that critical elongation step in the body. So it's excellent that pasture-raised eggs are higher in omega-3s and lower in omega-6, and furthermore that they have the antioxidants to protect that polyunsaturated fat. The pasture-raised eggs in this study were specifically shown to have higher DPA and DHA, which are elongated omega-3s that are critical for so many functions of the body, including protecting against malignancy through a variety of mechanisms. They are also critical for increasing genetic pathways for total body protein synthesis, specifically collagen synthesis. They support cognitive function, so many other benefits. So it is great that the pasture-raised eggs are high in DPA and DHA. Similar results have been found in other studies as well. Karsten et al. Was a study where eggs from caged hens were compared to those of pasture-raised hens, and they found again that the pastured hens' eggs had more antioxidants. Specifically, they had twice as much vitamin E, twice as much long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, 2.5 times the total omega-3 fatty acids, and less than half of the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. Also, vitamin A concentration was 38% higher overall in the pastured hens' eggs than in the caged hens' eggs. There was also a 2016 study in Iran where indigenous eggs were compared to commercial eggs. The study stated that indigenous laying hens graze mainly green plants and scavenge for earthworms. So in this study, they're using the term indigenous to refer to pasture-raised eggs, essentially. And the result, again, is better quality eggs. The eggs reared in the pastured environment had higher stearic acid, higher N3 fatty acids or omega-3 fatty acids compared to the market eggs. Stearic acid is an interesting lipid for which there is some evidence of benefit for mitochondrial health, also increased satiety and LDL cholesterol reduction. So that is a cool pearl found from this study that the pasture-raised eggs offered more stearic acid. And of course, also in this study, the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio in the indigenously or pasture-raised eggs was significantly lower compared to the conventional market eggs. So a few studies, that was a small dose of evidence supporting the advantages of the pasture-raised compared to conventional eggs. And there is, of course, much more that we could discuss. There's much more evidence. I will provide citations for the publications I discussed here in the description. Pasture-raised eggs usually do cost more, unless perhaps you have access to them from living in a more rural area where people tend to keep chickens more. But if you're shopping in the store, the prices are usually commensurately higher for the work and the resources that it takes to raise hens in this manner. But I do believe that they will become more affordable with time and with economy of scale as people select to buy pasture-raised eggs increasingly. As the recognition continues to grow for the amazing health and the ethical quality of pastured eggs, I think that some changes may be in the pipeline. perhaps, for example, a portion of the enormous agricultural subsidies already existing in the US could be redirected towards healthier and more ethical practices. It is pertinent to note that the factory farm style of hen rearing poses a seriously increased risk for zoonotic viruses to develop and spread, and I think this is increasingly coming to public attention. And the concentrated animal feeding operations may even face increased regulation in the coming years, which could force the entire industry toward better practices. So I'm just being hopeful, but in the meantime, we can do what is within our power as consumers, and if you're able to select the pasture-raised eggs. This is really an amazing staple food that can stand you in good stead nutritionally, and if you switch to pasture-raised eggs, you'll avoid oxidized, rancid omega-6 fats, and you'll be getting higher levels of omega-3, choline, vitamin K2, vitamin A, and so many other beneficial nutrients. Also, as alluded to, the pasture-raised method is much more ethical in terms of animal husbandry. So in summary, thank you to the FDA for correctly labeling eggs as healthy, but the details are important. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see future videos.